Greetings and welcome to the Billionaire Book Club discussion of the top 10 distinctions between millionaires and the middle class. Now, this is a very powerful little book. Yes, it's pretty short, but it's an extremely powerful book by Keith Cameron Smith that breaks down these principles for success, these keys to success. And we're going to be having a discussion about that tonight. Now, Steve Harvey said to think like a man, and Keith Cameron Smith is telling us to think like a millionaire. So we definitely want to be able to do that. This is an interactive discussion, and we definitely look forward to hearing from you, hearing your comments and thoughts about this amazing book and how it can be applied into your life right now. I'm your host for this evening, Havilah Malone. I am a #1 best-selling author of How to Become a Publicity Magnet in Any Market via TV, radio, and print, and the Napoleon Hill Foundation release, the children's book, The Amazing Adventures of Oliver Hill, based on the 17 principles of success from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So definitely something that you want to be able to get for the next generation of leaders. And so tonight we're talking about these top 10 distinctions. So Keith Cameron Smith is an entrepreneur and author and a real business magnet. He went from making a little bit less than $20,000 a year to making multiple millions of dollars a year. And he's going to show us through these distinctions how he was able to do that and how you can apply that in your life. And we also wanted to know kind of like, why did he write this book? And in the preface, he actually breaks down his reasons why he wrote it. And he gave us 3 distinct things. One, because he felt like it was his responsibility. You know, anytime you learn something good, you want to be able to share that with people. You want to be able to pass that information on. That's something that's going to be of value. And then 2, he said he felt like it was his purpose. You know, when you find something that you feel very strongly about, that you know that you've been able to apply in your life that really works, you want to be able to share that with other people so that they can have success as well. So it gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment to be able to capture this information and put it into this book form. And thirdly, it was to be able to create legacy. Now, who can't relate to that? Who doesn't want to be able to leave something behind once they've left, you know, this earth and this time and space and life, and to be able to leave something to the next generation and generations to come? So this book and these distinctions have become a part of Keith Cameron Smith's legacy and hopefully a part of your success. So it also breaks down why, so you got a chance to pick up the book and take a look at it and read it. It starts from distinction 10 and actually breaks it down and goes to distinction 1. And so you may be wondering, why did it start at distinction 10? And the reason that Keith Cameron Smith gave for doing that was because the top 10 distinction was millionaires think long term and the middle class thinks short term. And when we talk about the way that we think and that long-term, short-term paradigm, if you don't set a goal, then how do you know where you're going? And so we want to start with the end in mind, which is why he started with the 10th distinction. And then 2, even Napoleon Hill, in his principle #1, definition of purpose, he talks about you have to decide what you want in life in order for you to be able to accomplish it. So it's in that same framework, that same thought pattern that Keith Cameron Smith delivers this information. And he also mentions, as you go through these top 10 distinctions, whichever ones stand out to you, whichever ones are like, you know what, I am really, feeling this one. Like I am really, I'm just vibing with this, I'm resonating with it, then cool. Let that be what you focus on for your growth, because at the end of the day, this is about you and what you want to do. And I am a lover of growth, education, and books, which is why we put together this Billionaire Book Club, because we are pulling together like-minded entrepreneurs, business professionals, people who have success in mind. So let's get the party started. So the number 10 distinction, which is broken down on page 3 in the book, it says millionaires think long-term while the middle class thinks short term. And he actually breaks down 5 different groups of people. So as anybody can share with me, like, what were those 5 different groups that he broke down?
He said the very poor, the poor, middle class, rich, and very rich.
Yes. And in those 5 different classes or 5 different groups of people, those individuals think very differently. It broke down that the very poor think what? Day to day. Yes, day to day. The poor think what?
Week to week.
Week to week. Middle class, month to month. The rich, how do the rich think?
Yearly.
Year to year. And very rich people from decade to decade. When is the last time you thought about 10 years from now, what should happen, what you should be working on, what should be going on in your life?
It stretched me because that really stretched me. I think yearly, I think years, next year, 5 years, but it really stretched me when it said the decade.
Yes, it really makes you start to think like, wait, if this is the mindset, and it talked about 3 distinct mindsets: survival, the comfort, and the freedom mindset. And we want to be able to get into a place of financial freedom. So the only way to do that is to be able to think the way that millionaires think. And that is thinking in long-term results. And it brought out, and this is something I thought was really interesting, the reason why the middle class has this very short-term thinking, and it's because of a scarcity mentality. Because they're fearful of, I got to get what I got to get today, and I got to think about tomorrow, or I got to think about next week, and I can't worry about the rest of it because it may not be here anymore. Where millionaires have what type of mentality? Isn't it that abundance?
That's right.
There's enough resources. There's enough for everybody. And whatever there isn't enough of can be more of it can be created. That's a very distinct mindset than someone who is just going from week to week, day to day. And even that year-long thinking is a much better thought process to be able to have. And there's an old saying in there, and it says, what you seek, you shall what?
Find.
You're going to find it. So whatever you're looking for in life, you'll be able to pinpoint that. And it's just a matter of taking in accurate knowledge and then applying that knowledge. But long-term thinking, you really have to make that a habit. It has to be something that is persistently done on an ongoing basis. And then learning about, and this is on page 6, he says, learning about fiscal responsibility, financial literacy, and investing. So rich people typically make between $100,000 to $500,000 a year, where the very rich make $500,000, $1 million, and plus. So that's a very distinct difference from the very poor who are earning $10,000 or less. And that distinction is being made from either having that short-term thinking or having long-term thinking. So who wants to have some long-term thinking? I know that's right. Sign me up for that as well. And so it says to be able to ask yourself some very empowering questions. So this comes from page 7 from Keith Cameron Smith. And one of the questions says, how can I double my income this year? Or how can I legally pay less in taxes this year? So those type of empowering questions help you to, because whatever you seek, you're going to find. So wherever you start to send your focus, that information will start to come to you. Have you ever been, like you get something on your mind? Like, and a matter of fact, a lot of times it's food items, right? So have you ever been thinking about, like, oh, this really great hamburger. Now it's on your mind. Like it's stuck on your mind. And now you start to see it everywhere. You start to see like advertisements for hamburgers online. You start to see fast food places that you pass down the street every day and you don't never see that place. But now you see it all the time because now you start to focus on it. And that's called our reticular activating system. We have a system within us that once we make a decision about something or once we get that picture in our minds, it will then go out and search for that thing and bring more of that into our awareness. So when you talk about being able to gain wealth, or that mindset, that wealth consciousness, whatever you think about, you're going to end up bringing about. And that's a very powerful thought and place to be in your life. And what's also really, really interesting, and please, if you have comments or thoughts about this particular distinction that we're talking about, then jump on in the conversations. It's definitely an interactive discussion that we want to be able to have with you. But one of the things that made mention was about spending time on a regular basis thinking about what your life is going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. What do you want your life to look like? Like, you literally have the power within your hands to be able to create the most beautiful picture that you want. But it takes the habit of consistently thinking in that way for you to bring it about. And one of the issues that people in the middle class get into is having that instant gratification mindset. I want it now, and I want it right now, and I wanted it yesterday. Well, to be able to have those really big goals and dreams, it takes patience. It takes time, because you not only have to gain the knowledge base to be able to start thinking in a different way, but also the information of which to act on so that you go in a different direction. And it's just not going to be popcorn success, but it just takes time. And matter of fact, there's a quote in here. He says, millionaires do today, and this is on page 8, millionaires do today what others don't, so that they can have tomorrow what others won't. And I also remember that coming from Dave Ramsey. He talks about that a lot in his book, The Total Money Makeover. Because if you're willing to do the things, to create the disciplines within your life right now, then over the long term, you're going to develop the results. So it's either you want instant small or you want long-term big. So, and the choice is yours. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And one of the other things that millionaires, and the distinction that he makes in here, is that millionaires keep control over their own life, whereas the middle class is under the control of other people. I see you shaking your head over there, David, like this is one of those points that kind of like really stuck and hit with you. You're on mute. No, I was saying, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Yes, that's very true. I do a lot of training, Havilah, and I train a lot of people that are in survival mode. And it's so amazing how they think that security is a job and entrepreneur is a risk. And that's how they think. They think, hey, as long as I can go and work for a company, hey, I know I'm going to get paid. But you as an entrepreneur, hey, you don't ever know. And it's interesting how they think that that is security versus a person that takes control and, starts their business. So I think he said it right when he said it's all about a mindset.
It certainly is. And what I love too is that he shows us how to bring that mindset, that long-term thinking, into every area of our lives, because every area of your life is connected to the other. So whatever you do in one will also assist you in the other ones. So you want to have long-term thinking in the area of relationships. You want to have long-term thinking in the area of health, because if you're just saying, okay, I just want money, I want money, I want money, and you're willing to step all over people to be able to get that money, and then that ends up like pushing people away from you. First of all, people won't want to do business with you. Secondly, as you get older, those relationships are what are of most value. And so you can end up alone and have all the money in the bank and be the Mr. Scrooge with nobody there who you can actually share that with. And in regards to your health, because a lot of times people connect your health is actually your true wealth. Because if you're, cramped up, in a wheelchair, or, are unhealthy in some way, how do you fully enjoy all of these things that you work so hard for? Even mentally, you want to be able to have a clear mind so that you can fully enjoy all of the things that are available to you. And he talked about emotionally having that long-term thinking. So be able to plan in every area of your life. And a very powerful tool that can help you with doing that is a vision board, for you to be able to really get that clarity of what you want, how you want it to look. And matter of fact, one of the distinctions we talk about a little bit later shows us how some of our desires, some of the things that we go out after in life, may not even be our choices, but the choices of other people that have been affecting us in some way, whether that's through parents or teachers or, religious organizations or whatever. But you really get to make a decision for yourself. What do you want your life to look like? And so you want to be able to set those long-term goals in every single aspect. And millionaires think long-term, where the middle class thinks short term. So that's distinction number 10. And we're going to go into distinction number 9 now. And this is a powerful distinction. Oh, I love this one. It says, millionaires talk about ideas, while the middle class talks about things and people. It says on page 14, it says, your words reveal your heart and mind. They give us an accurate picture of your future. So what do you spend your time talking about? Is it, what happened on the Real Housewives of Potomac, and, why she colored her hair, such and such a color, and, why, such and such person looked at me crazy? Or are we talking about, what you can create and the things that you can do, or, what ideas, like what Elon Musk is doing right now with his missions to Mars, and how you in your business can be able to capitalize on what's coming next in technology. Really being able to think about ideas as opposed to having conversations about things and people. And it does make a distinction here that millionaires do talk about people. They do talk about things, but it's in relationship to what those people's ideas are and what things those people are creating. So did this, kind of hit a chord, with anyone who's on the line right now, like where you're just kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling this one right here.
Yeah, I really like this one, Havilah. I've really been doing a lot of thinking about ideas and creating ideas. So on this one, not on all of them, but on this one, I can put a check to say, yes, I'm moving in this one in the right way.
I love that. And we want to be able to continually move in that direction. And one of the things that it made mention about, a matter of fact, this is on page 17. It says that millionaires own the car companies, they own the sports teams, they produce the movies and the television shows, they own the vacation spots. The middle class spends its money on the things that were created by the millionaires' ideas. So while the middle class is talking about what happened on the show, the millionaires are the ones actually creating the show. So it's a total different mindset. And I know I even personally will fall into that, where I'm just like, oh, okay, I just saw this on the show or whatever. And I have to catch myself sometimes like, okay, is that really where you need to be spending your time or your energy? Is that really where you need to be, focusing the power that you have is on this particular thing? Or how can you leverage a show that is out there like that? How can you create your own show that is like that? And so it's a real shift in where we focus our time and where we focus our energy to be able to give us the best benefit and put on that millionaire thinking cap. And I think that's such a powerful, powerful thing to do. And it talked about talking about people. So this is from page 18. It says, you cannot become rich without building good relationships. And if you spend much time talking negatively about others, it will cost you emotionally and financially. It will cost you emotionally and financially if you spend your time talking negatively about people. Matter of fact, there is a self-confidence formula that Napoleon Hill put in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And there's literally a line in that self-confidence formula. And it says that it's in the fifth principle in that formula, and talks about that you will eliminate like hatred, envy, jealousy, cynicism, selfishness, and by developing a love for all humanity, and that you will eliminate the negative attitude towards others, because a negative attitude towards anyone will never bring you success. It's almost like putting poison in a cup of water with an intention for this to affect someone else, but you drink it. It's literally what happens when we put out negativity or talk poorly about other people. It's going back into our ears. It's going back into our energy source, and it is affecting us. It's like almost being in traffic and somebody cuts you off, and then you blow up and you get mad, and then you fussing and arguing at that person. They can't even hear you. Like, they don't even know that you're upset, but yet your blood pressure is up. You're upset, and it's affecting you. How powerful is that? And I see it in the chat room. Stephanie said, yes, that is powerful, because it truly, truly is. And so it makes us really rethink, where am I spending my energy? Where am I spending my time? And is it productive for what I want to be able to create in my life? And we really want to be able to praise other people. We really want to be able to find ways to compliment other people, because that is also a benefit for us. That's where the power is. And there was something, and if someone wants to share about this, who do you want to discuss your ideas with? Oh, you're on mute.
Who do I want to discuss my ideas with?
Yes. Who do we want to discuss our ideas with?
People that will, celebrate as well as challenge, but never shoot down.
Yes.
Someone that would not just say, oh, that's great, but, challenge it and celebrate it, but definitely not, oh, that's crazy, that's stupid. So, yeah, somebody that can say, hey, let's see what we can work with on that one.
Yes, I see Stephanie in chat. She said, the people who have my back. And you're absolutely right. It says on page 21, Keith Cameron Smith brings out, he said, when you get an idea, discuss it with people who are successful. You don't want to discuss it with small-minded people. You don't want to discuss it with people who aren't on that same path with you, or moving in the same direction with you. Why? Because if you do, they will discourage you. You were given a vision. You were given a direction on things to build and things to do. And if they aren't putting in the work to build and change their own mindset, they cannot help you to get where you want to go, but may distract you from your direction and what you need to do. So you want to discuss it, like say if you have a mastermind group, or if you have people who are in your circle of friends or your colleagues or associates who are on that same like-minded frequency, that same like-minded path with you, or people, your coaches, or people who are successful, that's who you want to discuss your ideas with. And we have somebody said, that's so right. Stephanie brings out, says, sometimes even people that have your back will discourage you if they don't see the potential of a bigger vision. Yeah, and sometimes it's our friends and family who can be the ones who throw the most, kind of weed killer on our flowers before they've had a chance to even bloom yet. So we definitely want to be conscious and protective of those ideas so that they have the time to get nurtured and bloom where they are planted. And so what are some of the things that you can do? And he brings out about taking time to dream every day will increase your creativity. Every single day, carving out time to be able to focus on, to dream, to journal. Matter of fact, there's a book by Julia Cameron, and it's The Artist's Way. And she breaks down this journaling technique called morning pages. And it's basically first thing in the morning when you wake up, you go to a blank sheet of paper in your journal, and you just it's almost like a brain dump, and you just allow whatever to come out. You just allow, and because a lot of times we have a negative voice that's kind of like criticizing ourselves or even censoring ourselves, and so like, oh, I didn't write that right, or oh, I spelled that word wrong, or so it's just like, with no judgment, you just allow the information to come out, and it helps to increase your creativity. And we know to be able to come up with great ideas, you need great creativity. And one of the things that Keith Cameron Smith brings out, he says, number one, change your vocabulary. You got to go from impossibility thinking to possibility thinking. So saying I can as opposed to I can't, or I will instead of I should. One of my favorite words, when people say this, I'm just like, you don't even realize what you're saying. When they say it's impossible. Do you realize the word itself says I'm possible? The word impossible says I'm possible. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it's impossible, which means you can do it. Cool. Yeah, I see it, David. It's still on mute. Uh-oh, I can unmute you. There you go. It's unmuted.
Yes, I love what you said. I'm possible. I am possible. I love it.
Yes.
I love it too. I don't know if you can hear me, but I love it.
But absolutely, it's so powerful to be able to come to the realization that anything that you set your mind to, literally, you can't have a thought without the possibility of you being able to fulfill that thought. You couldn't come in harmony with the frequency of that thought. Now, it may take a lifetime to be able to create that or to do that, but you cannot come up with a thought if you couldn't do it. So everything and anything is possible. And that gives me hope. Like, it makes me feel good. And so, and matter of fact, when Steve Jobs talks about the crazy ones, I am grateful to be in the crowd of crazy ones. Yes.
That's
Number two, he says, stop complaining and start learning. One of the things that the middle class will say is, you know what, I don't know how to do it. Like, or I've tried that and it just doesn't work. Well, you know what? There's power in your words. So if you are complaining about something, all you're doing is pushing that away, because we live in a world that operates on the law of attraction. So whatever you put out there, you're going to draw to you. So if you keep saying, oh, the bills, guess what? You're going to get you some more bills. So it's time to start changing and shifting the way that we talk to ourselves. And then he also made mention, and this is something that is so dear to my heart, and I'm going to show you a tool that I use, but he talks about gratitude. He said gratitude, and it's on page 24, is one of the greatest powers in the universe. He says, whatever you're thankful for brings more of it into your life. And I have to thank Beverly Matheny, who introduced me to the concept of a gratitude jar. And I literally use this jar. I have this little bitty notebook, and every day I'll go into the notebook, I take out one of the little slips of paper, I'll write down what I'm grateful for that day. And in addition to writing down what I'm grateful for, I actually flip it on the back and I'll write because. So if I said, I'm grateful that I have, that my eyes are working today, and then I'll write on the back because it allows me to see the beautiful sunlight and smiles on people's faces. And it just, for me, the because actually creates a deeper emotional connection to and feeling to that thing. And I literally date it, I'll sign it, and then it goes down into my gratitude jar. And it just really helps me to stay focused on, even with when things are not going the way you plan, things are not panning out the way you want, there's always something to be grateful for. So when you retrain your focus to go to those gratitude related items, guess what? You're going to get a whole lot more to be grateful for. Yeah. David. Oh,
You do it per month?
I do it every day.
Every day. Now, when do you go back and read them? Or do you reflect on them?
I have not gone back and read them yet. And that could be look, now you're going to bring it to the next level. Look, you're going to bring, I can definitely consider going in and rereading them. And I probably will. I'll probably maybe quarterly go in and read it and just kind of see to kind of bring back to my mind all of those things. But it helps me in the moment that I do it, because it helps me to refocus my thinking on that thing that I should be grateful for, and takes my mind off of whatever I shouldn't be thinking about in that moment.
I got you.
Yes. But I may go back and do that now. Maybe like either monthly or quarterly, go back and actually reread through them, which will probably be like, oh my God, yeah, I remember this. Yes. So the gratitude piece is so big. And he says on page 25, so the lessons of life come to teach us to look at life from new perspectives. This leads to new ideas. So it's a very powerful distinction that we want to be able to apply. And that brings us to distinction number 8. So what's distinction number 8?
That is millionaires embrace change. Middle class is threatened by change.
Dum, dum, dum. So change can be positive or negative. See, the problem, and it brings out on page 26, the problem with the middle class is it assumes change will be negative most of the time, where millionaires assume that all change, positive or negative, will benefit them. You know what? I don't care if the economy is up or if the economy is down. I'm going to benefit from it. I don't care if it's snowing outside or if it's sunny outside. I'm going to benefit from it. That's a millionaire mentality, where someone from the middle class will be like, oh, it's raining outside. Now what? So change, and this is so powerful how it's broken down in this particular distinction, because it says on page 27, learning to deal well with change is a must if you are to become a millionaire, because change always brings with it an opportunity for growth. Change is such an amazing teacher for us, because people who, and it brings out what the issue with the middle class is with change. And it says people who are insecure resist change. But confidence is acquired through preparation and hard work. And you need that confidence to be okay with things constantly changing. And that's why, too, we may mention about just a little bit ago, in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And for those of you who follow me on social media, I'm actually doing a 90-day self-confidence challenge and gratitude challenge, which I know Steph is participating in. David, you may be doing. I think Glenn is a part of this and doing, because I've seen your writings on Facebook, and it's basically taking that self-confidence formula and writing that down every single day, because again, we are trying to retrain our brain, reprogram our brain so that we develop the confidence that we need to be able to do the things that are necessary to create success. Because you can have all the knowledge in the world. I'm firm believer knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So you can have all of the information in the world, but if you don't apply that, what benefit is it for you? But you need confidence to be able to step into a place where, you know what, I deserve this and I want it and I can accomplish it because it's possible. And writing down that formula every single day is helping to be able to develop the confidence that's needed to do these things. And so I highly recommend it. And it's something that we can definitely discuss a little bit further, a little bit later. So on page 28, it says choice versus a wish. It says millionaires choose to be rich, and the middle class wishes it was rich. And there's a big distinction between a choice and a wish. So a choice is backed by a belief that you can do it, where a wish is backed by a doubt that you can. That's powerful. If you're talking, David, you're on mute. But yes, that is a powerful. Either you think you can or you think you can't. And either way, you're right. You're right. So it says doubt is also the code word for fear. And change shows us what we're made of. So it really reveals what's inside of you. So there is a great philosopher. He is now passed, Wayne Dyer. And he had this powerful talk. And he talked about how what's inside of us is what comes out of us. Nobody can do anything to you. Nobody can make you be mad. Nobody can make you sad. It's what's inside that comes out. So like back to the example about being in traffic, getting cut off, and then you go into rage, you go into anger. Well, the only way that anger or that rage comes out of you is if that anger or rage is inside of you. And you allowed something, you gave your power to some circumstance or to some person to become a trigger for that. And so that's what ends up happening with this doubt and the fear of change for people, is that it triggers in them that fear of, okay, that lack consciousness comes up, that scarcity mentality comes up. So we really have to work on changing that into that abundance mentality so that what comes out of you is hopefulness. What comes out of you is excitement. What comes out of you when change, is in your sphere, change is happening, because guess what? Change is going to happen. It's going to happen. And if you don't continue to grow in some way, you're going to get left behind. You're going to be prepared for an old world that is now old when the new world is continuing to recreate itself in change. And so starting to see opportunity and change, and that's what millionaires do. So, matter of fact, on page 29 it says, someone once said, in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth, while the learned will find themselves well equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. So it says change teaches us new things that we need to learn. And this is so true that because a lot of times middle-class people think that millionaires just got lucky. Like you got a lucky break. You got the right stock, or you invested in the right property, or, somebody just gave you the wealth or whatever, and that's why you have what you have. But it says you have to be the right person in the right place at the right time. Otherwise, you won't see the opportunity. So it's not a matter of luck. It's a matter of being in alignment, and that's by doing the work. And like I commend everybody who's on this call right now, because guess what? You're doing the work, and you're interested in continuing to grow and learn and do the work so that you get the results. And that is so commendable. So good on you. And so did anybody want to bring out the example or the illustration that they gave here about learning how to fly and what the eagle mama did to the little eaglet? And that is brought out on page 31.
Oh yeah, Havilah, I'm just loving on this. I'm loving on this. I love eagles, and just to see that process of really making sure that first they take things out, the mother eagles take things out to make the eagles feel uncomfortable. They got to make them feel uncomfortable, because as long as you are comfortable, you're not motivated to do anything else. So helping them to understand, hey, I got to take all the comfort out of you, but then putting them on the edge of the nest and pushing them. And that's why this is so awesome, because you need somebody to push. You need somebody to push you. So I just think that is awesome metaphor of how we need to live our lives.
It was so powerful. It was like the little eaglet was like, I don't want to jump out of this nest. Like, no, indeed. And then the mother's like, oh, okay. So start taking away all her feathers. Start taking away all her little comforts out that nest. And it was like, wait, now I'm getting pricked. I'm getting stuck. Like the little twigs hitting me. Like, okay, now I'm really uncomfortable. So, and you're right. Sometimes we have to be pushed out of the nest. We have to be pushed so that we actually take the leap and we learn how to fly on the way down. And like, I was so grateful, and I didn't see it as a blessing at the time, but Lord, it was such a blessing when I was laid off from my corporate job. I had been in that position for nearly a decade and was comfortable in my discomfort because I wasn't happy. Like, I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. I was just like, I knew this. I knew this road, and it seemed like the safe thing to do. And even though God kept like pushing, it was like, girl, okay, I'm gonna need you to make a move. I'm gonna need you to make a move. It's like, okay, you won't do it? Cool. I'll do it for you. And literally our entire organization got laid off. And I'm like, okay, now what? But it gave me an opportunity to then do the self-work, to start moving in the path that my life was supposed to go, so that I have now become a #1 best-selling author, become an international inspirational speaker, things that I was not doing prior to, and fully using my gift to its fullest and happy with what I am doing. So sometimes we do need that coach, that friend, that circumstance in life when we can't look at those changes to be negative. Those changes are there to help us to get where we want to go in life. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So it says change is always meant for our good. Matter of fact, Tony Robbins says that life is happening for you, not to you. So we definitely want to be able to take that in, embrace that change when it comes, and learn how to fly. That brings us to distinction number 7. This is on page 33. And what is distinction number 7?
Wait a minute. Millionaires take calculated risk. The middle class is afraid to take risk.
Risk. Because the middle class is literally in the rat race. They're in the rat race because it's a lot more comfortable for them in the rat race, even though it's not yielding the results that they want. Where millionaires, it says the only way out of the rat race is to take risk. So if you take risk out of life, you take the opportunity out of life. Whoo! That's deep. That is really deep. That if you take risk out of life, you take opportunity out of life. And so millionaires, it says, they don't just jump in the dark. They don't just take a risk and take a shot in the dark and say, oh, okay, let me spend my money over here and I have no idea what that is. No, they take calculated risk. So it says they first gain knowledge. Then they consider the consequences of failing before taking action. So it's not risk without thought. It's risk that is very thought out and methodical. So it says, but you want to use that knowledge that you gain in that process to be able to overcome the fears. Because it says both the millionaires and middle class, they both have fears. We all got fears. That's just across the board. But the way to handle fear, or the way you handle fear is what determines your results in life. And so on page 34, it says that millionaires overcome their fear with knowledge, because fear with the knowledge becomes light. And the light, once you turn the light on in the room, oh, there are no boogie monsters in here. Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. When you have the experience of something, you're like, why haven't I been doing this? Like, what was I even thinking about? What was I afraid of? And it's that knowledge that really helps to get rid of that fear. And a lot of times middle class, they'll just stick their head in the sand. They're like, well, I don't know. And this is scary. So I'm just sticking my head in the sand as if that's going to make the issue go away. Ignorance is not bliss. It really isn't. So it says that what the millionaires do is they operate under risk management. So there's 3 questions, and that's brought out on page 35. And who can share with us what those 3 questions are when you're considering taking a risk that can help you to manage that risk that millionaires ask themselves?
All right. First one says, what's the best thing that could happen? The second one, what's the worst thing that could happen? Thirdly, what's the most likely thing to happen?
Yes, thank you so much. So it said, if you can live with the worst thing that could happen, and if it's most likely the thing that can happen is a good thing and it gets you closer to your goal, then do it. Go for it. So, but when you operate from a place of awareness, you can make those educated and calculated decisions. And one of the three primary fears that people are dealt or face, and especially the middle class, that stop them from actually taking the action necessary for growth is one, fear of failure, two, fear of rejection, and three, fear of loss. So in that fear of failure, see, millionaires look at failure in a whole different way, like a completely different way. They actually view failure as a good thing. And I always say this, I'm like, failure is actually your friend. Failure is like one of your best friends you could ever have. And the reason why is because failure is the best teacher life has, because it helps you to get to information and to learnings faster and more efficiently than a long route to it. Because once you've tried something, okay, it doesn't work. Now you know what doesn't work, and it allows you to recalculate and get new information or go ask for help or do whatever you need to do to make the adjustments. Failure is literally your friend. So it's not something to be fearful of. And you hear a lot of times, even like on those Shark Tank shows and stuff like that, they're like, fail often, fail quick. Like do it fast and do it quickly and do it often. Quickly and often, because it helps you to get to your end result a whole lot faster. And it says your perception, this is on page 36, your perception of and response to failure will determine the level of success that you achieve. And failure is like one of the biggest life lessons. So embrace it and learn from it, and then make the better choices and decisions. Today we talked about the failure of rejection. Now this right here. It says on page 37, it says you must want to succeed more than you want the acceptance of other people. You must want to succeed more than you want the acceptance of other people. The middle class will put so much importance on what other people think of them, how they're perceived. Oh, what is my neighbor going to say? What is, so-and-so going to say? And won't take action because of that fear of that rejection of other people. And here's the thing, millionaires understand that you will not please everybody. Matter of fact, you could be successful and people might not like you. You could fail and people might not like you. You could do amazing or bad, and some people are not even gonna care. So why are you so concerned about what other people think when what's most important is what you think and what is in congruence with your purpose in life and the direction you want your life to go? You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, but you might as well win yourself over, because that's the only person that you need to please. That's a very, very powerful lesson. That, I mean, because we grow up in a society or a system that is a please others society. It is a, this is what makes me not get in trouble, making you happy. Okay, cool. I'll do that. This is what will get me more candy or brownie points or more favor in your eyes. And so when you were taught that at a young age, it literally takes, as we are now older, more knowledgeable, we pick up these books, we get this information of what successful people, their mindset is, and start to retrain ourselves to start to think differently. And then hopefully we then take this information and we instill into the younger generation so they don't have to go through those same headaches, those same heartaches that we are going through as we make those shifts and changes in our lives. So as you know better, you do better. It's really the way that it works. And so the other fear that it talks about is the fear of loss. So the middle class, and this is so profound. It says millionaires play to win, where the middle class plays not to lose. If you played your whole life on the defense, how far do you think you're going to go? Like, even for those like who are into football or watch football, if the team played the entire game in a defensive strategy, they would not win. Like, you have to be able to project and plan ahead and plan to win in this game of life, to plan to win in your business and in your health and in your relationships. You have to play to win. And that literally takes taking risk, being willing to make changes and accepting that, you know what, everything that comes my way is an opportunity for me to succeed. And so there's the biggest gap in the world is between I should and I did. I know some of y'all feeling that. I know some of y'all feeling that. It's the biggest gap in the world between I should and I did. Because some millionaires have even been through bankruptcy multiple times. But you learn the lesson, you make the adjustments, and you keep going. That is how you win the game. And they talked about living like you are dying. And matter of fact, I love Tim McGraw's song, Live Like You're Dying. It's like one of my favorite songs. And it's really making that point that there was a survey that was done. Matter of fact, Brownie Ware, who's an Australian nurse, she had worked with people, terminally ill patients in the last like 13 weeks of their lives. And they did a survey with those individuals and they were asking them, you know, kind of like some of the lessons that they learned over life, things that they would do differently. And they came up with this thing called the top 5 regrets of the dying. And the number 1 regret was, I wish I had lived a life that was true, like to me, and that the life that I wanted to live, which is basically living a life with no regrets, instead of living the life that everybody else wanted me to live. So we get to learn these lessons through other people's examples and not having to go through that pain, because we don't want to get to the end of our days and be like, I wish I had I wish I could have, I should have, you know, why didn't I? And now my time in this body on this planet is done. And I know for me, I plan on squeezing out every bit of juice and purpose I have in me and living my life to the fullest, no matter what anybody thinks, because I have the right to. It's my right to. And it's yours too. So you do what you will. And jump on this success train. There you go. So you want to take more risk, reflect more, and do more things that will live on after you're gone. Legacy, baby, legacy. So now it brings us to distinction number 6. So who will share with us, what is distinction 6?
The millionaires continue to learn and grow. Middle class thinks learning should end in school, with school.
I love this question that it asks here on page 43. It says, why is it that $1 million homes have libraries? I wonder why. It says, is it just a coincidence that $1 million homes have them and $100,000 homes don't? No coincidence there. It says most millionaires that Keith Cameron Smith knows read a book a week. Literally a book a week. And it's because that eternal search for knowledge, that eternal search for growth only comes in from taking knowledge in, whether that's through experience, whether that's through reading a book, whether that's through coaching, whether it's through audio programs, however, but you have got to continue learning and then applying those things in your life to be able to get the results. He even may mention that he spent over a friend of his has spent like $500,000 on self-development and personal development. He has spent somewhere around $100,000. And someone in the middle class would be like, no, like I'm not spending that kind of money on books and classes and seminars and, but which is why you're in the middle class. So for millionaires, it's a completely different mindset. That matter of fact, because the skills, the core skills that are needed to be successful in life, to be able to get to a state of financial freedom, are not taught in school, unfortunately. So the skill sets that are taught in school are for you to stay in the middle class and help other people be rich. And so that's why once you leave school, your own self-education, your own personal development must begin. It must continue all throughout your life. And one of the best ways to do that, and one of the most inexpensive ways to do it, is by reading books. You can literally synthesize information that it took people years to compile, and you can read it in a day or in a week and then start applying that in your life. Like, that's huge. One example that he gave, Keith Cameron Smith gave, he said he had bought a book for $20, and the information that he was able to take from that $20 book was able to yield him $20,000 in return. Okay, I don't know if you heard me. A $20 investment that yielded a $20,000 return. That is huge. And that's as simple as we can start. And matter of fact, even if you're like, well, I don't have $20. Like, I'm literally in a state right now where I don't even have $20. Guess what? We have public libraries that are full of books. Full of them. And you can rent them and bring them home and read them and start to apply the information. So there literally are no excuses. And we live in a digital age and just about everything is online. So there's no excuse. And then 2, he says next step. So he got the books, he read the information, he applied the information, he started to gain in more money and more wealth, and then he started investing in coaching, because a coach can help you to see and get that the blind spots that we have, that can give you like the actual, human to human interaction, answer those questions, guide you, help you strategize along your path. And the investment, it's not an expense. It's an investment in your success and in your future. And so each of those investments are going to yield you a bigger return. So worth it. And everything it's a progressive step. It's a progressive step-by-step process. You don't have to do it all overnight. You don't have to, like he made mention here that he and a friend of his went to an event, like a seminar, and the seminar cost $12,500. And the friend, one idea, one piece of information that came out of that event yielded him $10 million in once applied in his business. So $12,500 investment yielded a $10 million return. But you're gonna be like, okay, I don't have $12,500 to go to no event. But you can start with the book. You can start with a $20 investment, or find your way to that library and build step by step towards your success. And that's such a beautiful thing. And it's all about planting seeds and watering them. Planting seeds, watering them. So you may pick up a book, read that information, and you planted a seed. And then you read another book, and it builds upon the ideas that you read in that book. Or say you go back and you read that same book again, and because you're a different person by the second time that you read it, you were picking up maybe a different aspect, or you're understanding something a little bit deeper, and you're able to then formulate in your mind and start to make that transformation of your mind so that you then can start applying those things in your life. And then start to yield the results, because you create new habits and new mindsets. And that's what it is all about. So that continual learning all throughout your life, it's a must if your goal is to get into that class of millionaires and billionaires. Yes. It says, learn how to be content. This is very important. It's on page 51. It says, learn how to be content with where you are while in pursuit of what you want. It's easy to get antsy. It's easy to be like, well, I don't have what I want. I don't have what I want. I don't have what I want. Oh, this is aggravating. I don't have what I want. No, you're in this place in your life for a reason. And any place you want to get in your life, you can get there. So like using the gratitude jar, be grateful for what you have right now, the things that you can't be grateful for right now, while in pursuit of all that you have coming to you, because it's actually already yours. Yes. And one other really important point that he brings out in the 6th distinction It's about knowing your priorities. It said the middle class has a skewed view of some millionaires and thinking, well, they just love money, and they don't care about nothing else. And that's the most important thing in their lives or whatever. And that's why they're rich, because, they've forsaken everything else. And quite frankly, that's not true. Now, there are some instances where you do find, people who have a lot of money, who are in that millionaire status, who are just like money focused and lovers of money. But those people usually are very lonely. Those people are usually suffering in some other way. And that is not full and true wealth. It's not. It's to be able to have really great relationships, to be able to have really great health, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, to have all of those things that are operating. So a lot of times when people are going out after funds, after money, after wealth, after riches, is because they want to be able to share that with those that they love. They want to be able to create a better life for those who are important to them and enjoy that life themselves. So when we can look at our pursuit down the path of growth into that millionaire and billionaire status as a way for us to more fully contribute to the world and contribute to our loved ones, that's an intention and a mindset that is guaranteed to bring you success. Yeah, so 6, we want to be continual learners all life long and earn massive amounts of money. Yes. So distinction number 5. Who can share with us what this awesome distinction is all about?
All right. Millionaires work for profits. The middle class work for wages. Another good one.
Yes. It says people who work for wages end up earning enough to live on, but not much more. And it is rare for someone to make enough money from hourly or salary positions to become financially free. So wages are the pay you receive for the work you do, where profits are the results of buying something for one price and selling it for a higher price. So it brings out that, if you are just looking for wages, then your financial reserve is going to be limited. How much you can, because there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much work you can do, no matter how much money you're getting paid per hour. There's only so much work you can physically do yourself. But when you find out and start to apply how to make money work for you, how to make money, not you make money, and create those profits by having something that is bought at one price and selling it at a higher price, that is where true wealth is created. And it says that over 90%, this is on page 55, over 90% of people who make more than $100,000 a year are in some form of sales. And he goes on to share some experiences about how he, from a young age, even in elementary school, started building his entrepreneurial muscle, his entrepreneurial bone. And does anybody want to share any of those experiences that he shared in here on some of the things that he did to be able to make money while he was in school?
I guess the first one, about the cinnamon toothpicks, yes. How he soaked them and sold them. So I just thought that was just, awesome.
Yes, that he went in elementary school, bought a bottle of cinnamon oil, and it cost him like less than $10. And he would take those, he would take the little toothpicks, he would soak it in the cinnamon oil overnight, and then bring them to school the next day. And he would sell through that in about a 2-week period. He would have about a $20 profit. And then he would reinvest that into more oil, more toothpicks or whatever, and continue to do that. And this is from elementary school. So it really even brought me back like, okay, because this wasn't until high school, but we were like have our parents buy candy from like the Sam's Club and then sell the candy at a higher price when we got to school. So it's like even children have that that sales mentality, some of that entrepreneurship spirit. And we find a lot of times that gets squashed as you get older, and people try to put you into this worker bee mentality as opposed to that profit mentality. Well, he said even in middle school, his parents would give him $3 a day for lunch. And so instead of him buying the lunch, he would go and buy 30 large sticks of chewing gum. And then he would sell. So he bought those for 10 cents, and then he would sell them for 25 cents. So he would turn $3 into $7.50. And so he was doing that in middle school. Now, what happened when he got to high school, because of the conditioning of society, he was being taught you should work for wages. You should go work for somebody. You should be doing this for somebody else, as opposed to him continuing on in that entrepreneurial spirit. And so then he did. He went and got a job. And so he said he worked for wages, but he was never satisfied with the money that he was making. And so after high school, in addition to him doing his job, because he was working at a golf course at the time, he also, with him and his friend, would go into the water or into the ponds where all the golf balls would end up being in the water, and they would get all the balls out of there, and they would find like hundreds of balls, and then they would then like clean them and then sell them to a used golf shop. And so they would make like a few, like $40 to $50 each, on the balls that they would bring to him. So he still had that entrepreneurial spirit in him, even though he like went down that the path that most people do, which is to go get a job. And so he continues to share all throughout his life, like different examples of how he was, working these jobs, but just never really happy, and saw that I'm not going to get out of this situation doing this path. Like, this path is not going to bring me to financial freedom. And he even found like something he was passionate about, because he was really into golf. And so he found that he can work at this golf club. I think he was making like $8 an hour at the golf club. And he was on the golf carts, like doing the drinks and stuff like that. So he can make $5 an hour, and then plus tips, he would end up with $8 an hour. But he also was able to like play golf. And he said, I'm gonna become a pro golfer. And his game got really good. But when he went out to do his PGA, the testing, he could never score above an 80. And you have to score above an 80 to become a professional PGA golfer. So he instead decided, I'm gonna go, it was another like a lower league pro golf. But again, he didn't, end up fully pursuing that path either. But he said, you know what? He finally got back into the entrepreneurial spirit. He finally got back onto that path that he was once on when he was a child. So sometimes we see that mirror in our lives, that, we have this idea, we have this path that we're going down, and then something scares us off that path, or somebody discourages us off that path, and we get off the path for a while. We start doing something different. But there's a calling inside of you, like, come back. Like, this dream is still waiting here for you. This desire is still here for you. Come on back over here. And then when you get back on that path and you feel that alignment and that congruency, and like, this is what I should be doing. Because he started back doing different entrepreneurial endeavors, which led him to finally opening up a furniture store. And he was making, at that point when he was working for somebody else, he was making up no more than $20,000 a year. When he opened up his first furniture store, his income tripled that first year. So he was like, okay, now we talking. So then he started finding new ideas of things that he can do, niches that he got into with like futons and bedding and things within his home. And his business continued to grow. And he started investing in real estate. And he went up to $1 million a year. So from less than $20,000 working for somebody else to now over $1 million a year. Anybody want that kind of progress? Yes, exactly. Yes. Because it's possible. And that's having that millionaire mentality, that millionaire mindset. It says when you work for profits, you have the potential of increasing your income drastically in a short time. So you want more money quicker? Work for profits, not wages. That brings us right on in And yes, and Glennis, I see you commented in the chat room that creates generational wealth. It does. It creates generation and self-worth, because you were able to take a concept, an idea from your head, and then put that into the universe to create it and now have it manifested into life. That makes you feel amazing, and now you have something to pass down to your family. So distinction number 4, where are we at with that? We on mute.
All right. Millionaires believe they must be generous. The middle class believes it can afford to give.
I'm gonna give you some money. I ain't got no money to give you. That's what the middle class believes. And Keith Cameron Smith gave us like some really amazing examples throughout this particular chapter. And one of the things he talked about was him being in a sub shop, and he had purchased the sub sandwich, and he had given, and the sub cost like a little bit less than $5. He had given the young guy, a little teenager, he had given him $10. So of course he gets back his change of like $5 and some coins, and he hands back the $5 bill to the young man. And the young man like, "Are you serious?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, this is for you." And he was so grateful for him, tipping him this $5. So you think in a sub shop, you are not getting $5. First of all, you're not getting tips at all, or likely. You're definitely not getting no $5 tips. And so for him to receive that, it just really, it brought him joy. And then he said he went back into the same sub shop like maybe a week later, and it was an older lady who was working with him, and he had given her a $10 tip, and she just started shouting. She like, "Hallelujah, like, thank you, Jesus." She was just so excited about this. He was like, "You know what? Where could you go and spend $5, $10, and get that kind of joy, get that kind of reaction from something that you've done?" So he's like, and the phrase where it says there's more joy in giving than there is in receiving. And it's so true. And I think this is such a perfect illustration of that. And he talks about, he's like, her response, like, literally lit me up. And I felt so good. So they got this money and they were excited about it, but he also benefited from being generous. And that is something that a millionaire thinks about. And a millionaire uses that mentality as they walk through their day-to-day life. So you want to be generous, because being generous is also fun. Like, who wouldn't want to see somebody jumping up and down talking about hallelujah, thank you, Jesus? like it puts a smile on my face just thinking about it. And so and there's a test. This is powerful. There's a test to see if you are in control of money or if money is in control of you. And this test is actually brought out on page 67. And the test is, give it away. So if you can do that, then you possess your money. But if you can't, your money possesses you. So matter of fact, let's give that a test tomorrow. Find some random person, some stranger on the street, just give him some money. If you feel that tension, that hesitation, that, I can't do this, I don't want to do that, there's some things to work through, because that money truly possesses you. If you're able to freely be like, yeah, here you go, I can be generous, you are well on your way to walking into that millionaire status, that billionaire status, because that's the mindset of generosity that must be there. And quite frankly, a closed hand or closed fist can never be filled. So we have to be able to give in order to receive. It's a powerful lesson, and it's so like oxymoronic. You're like, no, I should just be able to get. No, you give, and in that you get. So it's so amazing. He even talked about one night he was driving, and it was cold and it was rainy, and he sees this woman, and she's walking down the side of the road. And he said he don't normally just pick up a random woman off the street. he felt bad, and he was just like, I really want to be able to help her. And so he offers her a ride, and she gets in the car, and then she asks him, well, can I touch you? And he was like, oh, Lord, I done picked up a prostitute. Like, hold up, wait a minute. And he told her, he was like, no, you can't touch me. And she was like, well, why? And he was like, he showed her, his wedding ring. He was like, because I'm married, happily married. I'm good. and so, she's kind of like in this, like, well, why did you pick me up? And he was just like, I saw the situation you were in, and I didn't want you to be out there in the cold. He said, matter of fact, can I give you some money for you to stay in tonight and not go out and, do your work? And so she was like, well, sure. And so he started asking her questions. He was like, well, why are you, doing this? Like, what led you to, this particular lifestyle? And so she started sharing that, she had 2 small kids at home, and she wasn't able to feed her children. And so, it led her to then, use doing this for money. And her mom was at home with the kids while she was out, prostituting. And so he was like, would it be okay if I bring you to the store and, you can get some groceries for your family? And so this was something that was put on his heart to do, and he generously offered to do this. And at first she was a little hesitant, and kind of said, yeah, sure. So they get to the grocery store, and at first she only put like a couple items in there. And he was like, well, don't you need some milk? And what about cereal? And what about, this item and that item? And I think he ended up spending like $40 on different items. And he brought her back so she lived in a trailer park that was about 3 miles from where they were, and brought her home. And so she runs, because the mom, like as they were approaching, the mom kind of comes and stands outside, and she runs up and she's like, this man, just bought groceries for the family. Like the kids will be able to eat in the morning. And like, she's just so excited. And the mom, she's like, are you an angel? And he's like, maybe, but he felt it on his heart to do something. And he said, before you go inside, he goes in his wallet and he gives her $100 bills. He said, here, now you'll have food for the rest of the week. Like, what kind of thing? Like, that's so like touching to me. Like, it's so powerful. Like acts of random kindness, to be in the mindset of generosity, to not expect something in return, to not be doing something because you have some hidden agenda and you want somebody to do something for you, but to just know and be in a place where you feel something to be right and you do it, and how you affect people's lives through that. And that is literally the mindset, the mentality of wealthy people. You become more wealthy by being more generous. And he shares, story after story about different examples in ways that he's been able to be generous. And I'm sure too, for those of you who are live here on the line or who are listening, you have, stories of things that either people have, given kindnesses to you, or that you have been in the position to be generous and kind to somebody else. And how does that feel? What does it do for you? Please open up your line and share.
Oh, it's just amazing. It's amazing to, have that generous heart, and to be able to just release it, and also Havilah, to be able to release it, and and don't even want anything back from them. That's when you've truly gotten to that place where that when I do this, they don't have anything to give back, and I'm not even expecting anything to give back. That's when you've really reached that plateau of learning, realizing that, hey, I control this wealth, and this wealth does not control me. So it's liberating.
Yes, indeed. Glenn says the good and kind of heart. Yes, indeed. And it says that millionaires believe in the law of reaping and sowing. Reaping and sowing, because whatever you put out into the world is what you're going to get back. It is a law of compensation. It is a law of reaping and sowing. It is a universal law. You cannot avoid it. You cannot pass go. You cannot collect $200. Whatever you put out into the world is that which you shall reap. So the more generous you are, the more generosity you will experience. It may not come back from the same source that you sowed the seed, but it will come back to you, and it must come back to you. And I love the distinction that it makes in here. It says, because millionaires are not just good givers. They're also good receivers. Have you ever been in a position where, somebody compliments you and then you're like, oh, no. It's like you're rejecting the compliment, or somebody tries to give you something or pay for a meal. No. See, it says that the middle class usually has a hard time accepting or receiving things because they do not feel worthy of them because they are not good givers. But see, the millionaires have no problem with receiving because they do give. So I'm like, yes, I need to give and receive and be okay with the entire process. Yes. So this is such a great distinction on millionaires believe they must be generous while the middle class believes it can't afford to give. So we definitely don't want to be in the middle class. So that brings us to distinction number 3. So please share with us, what is that distinction?
All right. Number 3, millionaires have multiple streams, multiple sources of income. The middle class only have 1 or 2.
More money. And the only way to have more money is to have multiple streams of income. Yes, I love the example they give. This is on page 78. It said, would a fisherman catch more fish if he had 2 lines in the water or just 1? Well, logically, 2 lines. You're going to catch more fish or have the opportunity to catch more fish. What about if you had 5 lines in the water? Well, yes, you got more lines, you got more bait, more opportunities to catch more fish. So we liken that fish to money. The more streams of income that you have operating and working for you, the more opportunity you have for that money to flow to you. So, and the more source of income, it says this on 78, the more source of income you can develop, it's more likely that it is that you will become a millionaire. Now, we're not just talking about any old kind of money now. Not any old kind of streams of income, but we're specifically talking about passive income. Who want residual money? Who want money just flowing to you on a consistent basis? You can be like, oh, check. Thank you. Yes. So you want to focus on making your income streams, your additional income streams, to be passive. Now, passive does not mean you don't do nothing. Passive don't mean lay in the hammock and let the wind blow. No, passive just means that you're not actively, involved in creating the stream, but you may have some management to do over that stream of income. There will be some work involved, but it's passive work. And it's a very different distinction. So there's a little bit of maintenance that may be required with that particular stream of income. So here's one of the big differences, because the middle class thinks, well, you can't have multiple streams of income because there's only one of you, and you can't focus on a whole bunch of stuff at once and do a whole bunch of stuff at once. And so there's not enough time or energy to be able to have multiple streams of income. Here's where the problem is in that thinking, because middle class people think that they have to do it all, that they have to be Superman and Superwoman and actually do the work. Where millionaires, those brilliant millionaires, know that I can build a team of people who could do this way better than I can. And I hire them to do the work that creates the income streams that come into my account. How you doing? Yes. And so it says on page 80, having a belief that no one can do it as well as you is arrogance. The world is full of talented people. Because millionaires have a very different belief. They believe that they can find someone who could do it not only as well as they can, but even better. And it says on here about building teams, it says millionaires have also developed a special skill of getting people to work well together. So getting people to embrace each other's differences and uniquenesses, to be able to align the right person with the right position. Because that's a lot of times where companies go wrong, is that you're putting people in positions that they are not qualified for or nor good at. And then it ends up being more work for you. But millionaires have a very unique skill set of being able to make that alignment. And that reminded me of Andrew Carnegie. So Andrew Carnegie was considered the richest man of all time and of his time. And he was the steel magnet. So he was like the steel king over like the industry. So railways and anything that requires steel, you had to go through Andrew Carnegie to be able to make that happen. Here's the caveat. Andrew Carnegie knew very little to nothing about steel. How does a man who controls an industry know nothing about the industry? Why? Because his skill set was building teams, creating masterminds within his organization to be able to bring together the best and brightest who were able to and knew everything about steel, the operation of it, the price points of it, where the industry was going, the forecasting of it. He knew how to bring the people together and help them to work in harmony together towards a common goal. That was his skill set. That's what millionaires and billionaires, multi-billionaires are able to do. And so, that takes an environment of developing an environment of trust. It says on page 81, millionaires build teams of people who complement one another, not compete with one another. Because how can I be on a team with you if I feel like we're in competition with each other? Like, how am I going to really trust you? How am I going to really like let you in and give you all my trade secrets if you're going to turn around and use it against me? But if you create a team of people who are there to support one another, to help each other to grow, to get to that next level, and they're working in cooperation with each other, you've got a winning environment, a winning combination and team that when you establish that code of honor, that code of ethics, then you will win. You will win. And it says even anger, it has no place in a winning team because, again, it's a sign of arrogance. So we want to be able to have that sense of humility, and from the top all the way down to the bottom when it comes to a team. And humility, it is a teachable quality. It is something that when it doesn't matter who gets the credit for the win, your team is bound to win. That's a different mindset. That's a different mentality. And that's a mentality that millionaires have. Now, he also brings out something called intentional congruence. Anybody down with this intentional congruence? This is on page 83. This is a very powerful concept about intentional congruence.
So it's talk about the essence of how to create multiple sources of income. Intentional means doing something on purpose, a planned event, a thought out action. Congruence means connected, alignment, agreement. Things work well together.
This is a methodical planning tool and mindset to use of this intentional congruence. And that means that you get each of your income streams to support the other income stream. You don't have stuff that's okay over here and over there and over there and over there and over there, and they have nothing to do with each other. They're not connected in any way. But when you operate from a mindset of intentional congruence, this income stream can support and actually even bring clients from this one to that one. And this income stream supports that one as well. And they're all intentionally in alignment with each other for growth, which also means your focus is not divided. It also means that everything you do is for the benefit of the whole when they are intentionally congruent. That is such a beautiful thing to be able to start thinking about right now with whatever it is you're passionate about, whatever, you decide to move forward with in life. It's like, okay, if my primary income stream is to be a speaker, okay, great. Then what are some passive income streams that may also support you being a speaker? What are some other additional income streams? What about book sales? A book sale would definitely help you as a speaker. What about creating a coaching program that other people then do the coaching and it brings money back into your business? That's another income stream that is intentionally congruent, because the people you speak to on stages, you can then funnel into that coaching program. So whatever that is, you want to start thinking about what income streams can support each other along this path. So, it says that focus is power. This is from page 83. He says, you must focus like a laser on specific parts of the bigger picture. And you also have to have the ability to focus on like a spotlight on the entire bigger picture. And so that allows you to see what you need to see on the granular level, see what you need to see on the bigger picture level, and how all of these things work together because they're intentionally congruent and growing one another. So learning how to build passive income streams that feed one another will make you much more money over time. Much more. And that kind of thing, having an intentionally congruent business model, is not something that happens by accident. You have to purposefully go in and create that. And it may take more time for you to create it, but over the long run, and like we talked about in distinction number 10, long-term thinking is key. So look out into the future, look out into what you're looking to create, and then create accordingly, step by step, one chunk at a time, one bite at a time. So fantastic. So here's some questions. It says on page 85, it says, make sure that your new source of income supports the first, and then make sure the first source can support the new one. And so here's some questions that you can ask. Do they help promote each other? Can your primary source of income do business with the second or the third? Do they lend credibility to each other? Can customers from my primary source also become customers of my new endeavor? So these are questions that you want to ask yourself, and they're also very empowering questions that help you to start thinking just a little bit differently. Just a little bit differently. So with passive income, building your team, and having intentional congruence, then those multiple sources of income will start to stack up and you will become a millionaire. I know, so one of my coaches, so Tony Robbins, he has over 150 businesses. 150 businesses. And when I had first learned about that, I was like, how in the heck do you run 150? Like, what? It's not even humanly possible to run 100. When you build teams, when you have people in place that are running those businesses, and you have oversight, you have maintenance that you put into, and you set up systems that help you be successful with managing multiple streams, millionaires and billionaires know it can be done because they do it. All right. So we are on to distinction number 2. We are down to our final two of the most powerful distinctions. And so please share with us, what is distinction number 2?
All right. Millionaires focus on increasing their net worth. The middle class focus on increasing its paychecks.
Net worth versus increasing a paycheck. So page 87, it says, focusing on your net worth is working smart. Working for a paycheck is working hard. Do you want to work hard? Because I don't like to sweat. I don't. It says, millionaires attain financial freedom because they work hard in the beginning to build their net worth. And so there's some distinctions that are also even made with this definition of net worth, because you may be thinking one thing where millionaires have a very different definition. And so the typical definition of a net worth is when you take your assets minus your liabilities. That's probably what you taught in school of what net worth is. But A millionaire, when it comes to money, they're a little bit wiser. So it says millionaires look at assets, this is from page 88, as things they own that have value and earn passive income from them. Your assets must be earning you money for it to be considered a part of your net worth with a millionaire. See, your money needs to make money. You need to rewind on that, right? Your assets that have value must be producing an income from you. So there's a difference between having a property that you own, fantastic. You may even own the property debt-free, fantastic. But unless that property is producing you passive income as maybe like a rental property, it is not considered to be a part of that net worth for a millionaire. And Glennis just wrote in the chat room, she said, your money need to make money. Now that's good. Yes. So it says on page 89, it says a net worth that doesn't produce a passive income is worthless as far as a millionaire is concerned. It says millionaires make their money work hard for them, where the middle class works hard for its money. And you know, working for a paycheck is pretty risky because you're actually putting the control of your life and your paycheck in somebody else's hands. What happens when a downsize comes? What happens when the economy changes and your position is no longer needed because artificial intelligence is taking it over? You know, so that position, and we talked about a little bit earlier about, you know, taking risk and being willing to, you know, step out there and take that leap and learning how to fly and getting pushed out of the nest. It's definitely a good time to start considering that if you are living paycheck to paycheck, because quite frankly, your life is not in your hands right now anyways. So start building that net worth. And so it says, as your paycheck gets bigger, here's also another issue that happens. So do your taxes. And as your paycheck gets bigger, so does your dependence on someone else. So it says millionaires control how much they pay in taxes and when they pay their taxes. So if you are an employee working for someone, getting a paycheck, you are actually getting your taxes taken out first, and then whatever's left over, you get to take home and use however you would like. Whereas people who are in business for themselves and millionaires, they take their money, they spend it, they determine when they're going to pay those taxes and how much they're going to pay, because the laws are actually made to be able to help people who are in business for themselves. They were built as a safe net for entrepreneurship. So definitely something you want to consider. And we're going to talk a little bit about some passive income streams that are available to you. You know, we won't go into a deep dive into that because you should talk to a financial consultant or people who are like specifically in those industries, but we'll definitely go into some options that are available for building those passive income streams as Keith Cameron Smith breaks out in the chapter. And so it says you can turn your paycheck into passive income. So you want to know how to do that. It says that so many people who are millionaires today, they once worked for a paycheck. So how did they become financially free? It says by using their paycheck to buy assets. So you can start today in investing your money to be able to then have those assets that you purchase, those investments that you make to surpass the paycheck, where you don't need the paycheck no more. Your assets and passive income pay you, and you get to move on and start creating financial freedom like millionaires do. But what does that require? It requires new knowledge. There's some, I think it was in Who Moved My Cheese, but it was basically saying that whatever you know right now is not going to help you to get to where you ultimately want to go. The person who you are right now is not going to be able to be sustained at the level at which you want to go. So we have got to constantly be growing, constantly be learning and investing in ourselves so that we can grow and become the person we want to be. And so even to learn how to do and to create multiple income streams and passive income, it just takes new knowledge. And it may take hours of personal study, but in the end, it's worth it. And even millionaires, they don't stop learning. They do not stop learning, as was brought out in distinction number 6 about that being a lifelong thing. So it requires time to develop those skills, and you really just want to be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Just like we talked about being generous to others, you also have to be generous with yourself and not beating yourself up about why am I not further? Like, why don't I know more? It just takes time. So you decide, hey, I want to build this new income stream. You learn the things that you need to learn about it. Go get books, coaching, seminars, classes. Information is available online. Learn about those things and then start applying that knowledge. Apply the knowledge, and then you start to reap the results. And so it says millionaires apply the knowledge they gain and continually increase in their knowledge. So here are a few different options as far as passive income streams. It said, 1, start a small business. And it even brought out that one of the easiest ways to get into it, that's a low risk way of getting into it, is either direct sales or network marketing, because you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Or you can even start your own LLC or business under whatever determinations, consult a professional, determination that you want your business to be under. And it really allows you to be able to sell product services and then use the umbrella and tax advantages of having a small business. The laws are made to benefit the wealthy. Laws are made to benefit business owners. So why not become one? So here's a tip. It says, when you start your own business, make sure, this is from page 94, make sure you keep your cost of living the same and save the money you make from your new business until you're ready to invest in an asset. It's not like, okay, now you start this business, you're like, oh, I'm making some extra cash now. All right, it's time for me to get them Louis Vuittons. No. You hold on to that money and use that to invest in your assets so that your money can grow for you. I always liken so your money to like your children. And you want your children to go out and be prosperous and grow and to create more children. And you want generations of children upon children like the grains or the sands of the sea. But you do not want to start building a family of money and then start eating your children. Like, well, I can go on vacation now. Or, you know what, it's time for me to upgrade my living situation. Or, oh, I sure do need a new whip. I need a new car. Let me do that. It's not the time. So if you will do now what others won't, you will have what others won't. And that just takes being patient and investing your money in the right places. And so it says, millionaires have uncommon wisdom. They do not increase their spending when their income increases. They increase their investing. That is the essence of wealth building. And so 2, you can invest in real estate. So real estate is one of the best and safest investments or assets to invest in. A lot of millionaires definitely have that within their portfolio. So it's something you want to consider. Bookstores are filled with books on real estate investments. There's tons of seminars. There's tons of information that are available on different real estate investment strategies and ways to go about doing it. So it's about taking the time, investing in yourself and your knowledge base, and then go for it if that feels congruent for you. The third one he talks about is stocks. And he says some millionaires are in the stock market, some millionaires are not in the stock market. It is definitely another passive income stream that's available to you. It always talks about, it says stocks can be a great form of passive income, but they also can be risky. And so it's about gaining in knowledge about that particular area if that's something that's of interest to you, and go for it. and risk is always reduced by knowledge. So the more time you invest in growing your knowledge base, the better you will be. And there is risk. Risk is opportunity. Like without risk, there is no opportunity. So do not allow risk to make you afraid of trying something new, because quite frankly, what else would you do other than not grow? So there you go. And I loved this piece. This is on page 98, and it's a net worth is not a nest egg. Is millionaires don't have nest eggs. They have geese that lay golden eggs on a consistent basis. Hello. It says millionaires' net worths are their geese. The passive income they receive from their net worth are the golden eggs. See, the problem with a nest egg mentality is one day when you get hungry, see, I like scrambled eggs, don't you? You eat all your nest eggs. But if you have the geese that is constantly laying the eggs, you're going to be all right. So the day will come where you can be totally financially free by increasing your net worth like the millionaires do. And that actually brings us to, we need like a drum roll on this one. Distinction number 1. So please share with us, what is distinction number 1?
Millionaires ask themselves empowering questions. Middle-class people ask themselves disempowering questions.
When you begin to ask empowering questions, success is inevitable. Tony Robbins would always say that questions are the answer. Because literally whatever it is that you seek, you will find. And we're going to give some examples where you're going to be able to make the distinction for yourself and see from even a energetic and feeling how disempowering some questions are and how empowering some other questions are. And where your focus goes is where energy flows. So based off of the quality of the question you ask will determine the quality of the answer that you get. And if you are operating off of that information, that is determining the quality of your life. That's powerful. That's so important. Like, that's so big, that those questions that you ask yourself. So it says, you receive answers. This is on page 100. You will receive answers for whatever questions you ask. So you better start asking empowering questions, because questions hold the answers that you need for success. So here's an example. It says, here's a question. So it says, how can I double my income this year? Or how can I get enough money to pay the bills this month? How does that feel? Even when you hear it, how can I double my income this year versus how can I get enough money to pay the bills this month? I want somebody who's on the line or whatever, share, like, when you hear those two questions, what do you feel?
The first one, how can I double my income? That's a sense of hope and expectancy. Like, wow, how can I think that big? But this, how can I get enough money to pay the bill? That immediately, when I read that, I started getting stressful. I start getting a little stressful because it is May 29th. So, like, if I start thinking right now, I got 2 days. So that kind of stressed me, put some stress this month, because, a month, 4 weeks, it goes just like that. So yeah, the power of asking the right questions is vital.
Priceless. Priceless. It says, how can I make $1 million a year doing what I love? Versus, how can I get my boss to give me a raise? The energetic quality of those questions. One says, how can I make $1 million a year doing what I love. Like, even as I say the words, like my body, because our physiology will a lot of times give us clues to the quality of the things that we're saying, the words that are coming out of our mouth, especially our questions. As I said the question, my body literally was expanding. Like I felt this openness because it felt very open. And here you go. And Glenna said in our chat, she says she felt excitement and hope. Yeah, hearing that question. And then on the converse, when I hear the other question, how can I get my boss to give me ooh, I feel it in my body. Like, I don't know if you can feel this as well, but I feel the constriction. I feel the contraction in and the making of the self smaller, because it also implies that this person has control, and now I have to try to get something from them, and how am I going to make that happen? It feels very disempowering, that version of the question. And sometimes we don't even realize the distinction until we can put those questions side by side, because sometimes our minds are just on autopilot. So you get into a habit of asking a certain kind of question, or, you may do something and be like, oh, why am I so stupid? Like, oh, why do I always mess that up? That's a very disempowering question, as opposed to how can I continually improve in that area of my life? It's a very different question. And it's a very different life, because whatever you put out there and you ask, you will find the answer for. So if I say, how can I continue to improve in my life? My mind will immediately start looking for answers and solutions. Ooh, maybe I can slow down a little bit. Maybe I can become more focused. Maybe I can start writing things down so that I remember them. If I say, why do I keep screwing up? Like, why do I keep making the same mistake? It's actually saying, okay, because I'm not that smart, because I'm not worthy, because, I wasn't taught well. You will start looking for the answer to that question, and it will come and then become a part of your belief system, which then becomes your life. So it's very important about those questions. Here's another one. It says, what can I do to show my kids I love them today? Versus, why don't my kids appreciate me? Ooh, like that stings. Like that's a little painful, And what about, how can I increase my peace of mind? Or why am I always stressed? Like that just feels. So empowering questions ask what you can do, where disempowering questions ask what you can't do. Empowering questions make you feel good, where disempowering questions make you feel bad. And see, millionaires are masters at managing their emotions. And the quality of the question helps you in the managing of your emotion. That's a simple tool that you can start using right now, today. And because you're a part of this conversation, because now this is in your conscious awareness, when you start asking yourself questions, you'll be like, "Ooh, wait, that wasn't the power." Like, "Ooh, hold up, let me pull that back. Let's try this again." What's a question that's more empowering? Because I even find myself doing it, and I'll say something, I'm like, that's not going to help me. So what's a question that will actually empower me and move me forward? And then it becomes a part of your habit, and it becomes something that you do on a daily basis, which is amazing. And you become a more peaceful and powerful person. And that's ultimately what you want, because that's what leads to wealth. That's what leads to being that millionaire and billionaire and beyond. So it says, Millionaires, on page 104, it says, millionaires ask questions that make them rich, while middle-class people ask questions that keep them poor. Woo-hoo. But it says most middle-class people, they're not even aware of the questions that they're asking themselves. You got these constant scripts running in the back of your mind, and the conscious awareness isn't even there of it. But you will be consciously aware now that you're taking in this information, because you're asking some different questions right now. So it says, and let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation with somebody and they they have like a lot of negative self-talk or a lot of just negative talking, like the direction of the conversation is just like, ugh, okay, I really don't want to be around this. But with millionaires, because they do have an emotional control over themselves and a mental control over themselves, they're able to redirect the conversation through the questions that they ask and bring the conversation down a whole different path where the other person doesn't even realize that they have been redirected. Because see, middle class people, we talked about this a little bit earlier, they're so used to content consumption. They watch the Hollywood features. They talk about the people on the TV shows. Their world is scripted by what the creators of that content intended. So people who are already at that mindset of creation can then create whatever circumstances that they want, even in day-to-day conversation. So you don't even have to worry about, well, I can't even hang around or be, in the presence of this person because they always got this like bad attitude or negative thinking or whatever. Because when you are in a place of power, personal power internally, you can actually change the molecules in a room and direct any conversation in the way in which you want it to go. That's power. That's power. It said this is really all summed up in a powerful principle. It says, as a man thinks, so is he. So what are you thinking about? What do you think? Yes. And now here on page 105, it says the reason middle class people talk about things and other people is because their minds are simply reacting to what other people say or do. Where millionaires are more creative than reactive. And by asking themselves empowering questions, they control their minds. They also control their internal dialogue. What are you saying to yourself about yourself? That I am beautiful, that I'm powerful, that I'm resourceful, that I'm creative, that I am amazing, that I am talented, that anything that I set my mind to is as good as done. Is that what you're saying to yourself? Or are you saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not resourceful enough, I don't have enough people in my life who are there supporting me? That internal dialogue will literally direct your life. So say the things that will empower you to move forward to the completion of what you want. And there's actually these 9 empowering questions I highly recommend, highly recommend. If you are serious about your growth, then take the time to answer these 9 empowering questions. And will someone please share, that's on page 107, what those questions are? And they're actually specifically in a be, do, have format. This be, do, have. What are those 9 questions?
All right. What kind of person do I want to be? Why do I want to be that kind of person? How do I become that kind of person? What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? How can I do it? Why do I want, what do I want to have? Why do I want to have it? And how can I create it?
It says your answers to these questions must be clear. So you want to take the time to actually answer these questions and be as specific as possible. Napoleon Hill said that 98% of people in the world drift about, just being drifted about by the wind because they make no determination about what they want in life. So wherever the wind blows, that's where they go. But when you take the time to be specific and clear about what you want to be, what you want to do, and what you want to have, then you have the formula now to actually create that within your life. And so it says what's even more powerful is not only even knowing what you want to be, do, and have, but why. Why do you want it? Because that why will be that motivating factor that will keep you going when you fail. It'll keep you going when things start to change. it'll keep you going when people are not there cheering you on and supporting you, because that's a part of the journey. But that why could be so strong that you're like, you know what? I'm getting up and I'm doing it again. And I'm getting up and I'm doing it again. And I'm getting up and I'm doing it again until I win. That's the mental determination and discipline that must be put in place for you to succeed at that millionaire and billionaire level. It's a must. And so this distinction, like this really is the top distinction. It's the most important one. And here it says on page 109, a lot of times people ask, what's the meaning of my life? But if you ask, what would make my life meaningful? What would make my life meaningful? And the meaning of our lives is not to have success, but to be successful. Because whatever you are will determine what you do, and that will determine what you have. It starts with you first, not the other way around. Not the have, do, be. It's the be, do, have. So I am so grateful that everyone has come on for this very powerful discussion. You know, he said, now what? Like, you know these top 10 distinctions, you've been able to go and pull this apart and have this conversation, but now what do you do? And it says, one, read this little book again and again. Because every time you go through and you read this information, it's going to spark something in you. It's going to deepen your knowledge, understanding of the information, and allow you then to act on the information. It'll become a part of who you are, because these distinctions are the distinctions that help to create that millionaire mindset and then the millionaire results. What's another thing? It says, read it once a month and then do the repetition with it, because once you start to think differently, you'll act differently. And then share it with somebody. Share something that you learned with somebody else. Because if it's something that's going to be beneficial to you, somebody else can benefit from it as well. And I really want to just commend everybody who took the time, because quite frankly, you could have been anywhere, doing anything right now with your time and space on this planet Earth. But you are determined to grow. You're determined to have the things that you want in life, and continually to educate yourself and feed your mind and surround yourself with like-minded people, like on this Billionaire Book Club, is something that will bring you such huge returns, not just in the short term, but over the long term. So good for you. And if there's any way that we can be a support to you in your endeavors and the things that you're looking to do, don't hesitate to reach out. You can follow me on all social media at Havilah Malone. That's HAVILAHMALONE. Or you can email me at ask@havilahmalone.com. And this recording will also be available online on YouTube at youtube.com/Havilah Malone. And what I want to do right now is just take an opportunity to be able to open up the lines for anybody who has any comments, thoughts about the material that we've covered tonight, the things that you've read or the things that you've heard, or if you have any questions. If anybody has any questions about any of these things that we've discussed, please, here's your opportunity to be able to ask those questions and get some empowering answers. So we're going to open up the lines.
Havilah, I just want you to know that I just loved it. I love this book, and you did an excellent job. Just taking out the nuggets. Several of the things you pointed out are the things that I also captured as well. So yeah, I love it. Excellent book. And you picked a great one. So I loved it. I just love the concept. And like I said, I being a part of a mastermind group with you, the Think and Grow Rich, reading the Think and Grow Rich book. Wow, this book right here is very, so by having read the Think and Grow Rich book and applying those principles, getting to this book, it was, you know, just like, yeah. So it's just great, you know, so excellent experience and a great resource.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Banks. Like, that's amazing. And, you know, we want to be able to take, when we invest our time or our resources in something, to be able to get a return from it. And I love how you were able to liken, like, hey, you know, started doing mastermind around Think and Grow Rich and like all the things that are coming from learning those principles. And now this is just stacking on. It's like watering. It's like adding that water too. And just like bringing that knowledge base and bringing that application to a whole nother level so that you get extraordinary results in your life. So thank you so much for coming and being a part of this today. And I appreciate your participation. Is much, much appreciated. Thank you. Yes. So anybody else, any questions or comments that you may have? All right. Well, I hope that everybody has an amazing evening as you continue to empower your life, because we're going to continue to do what we need to do to create success. So you have an amazing evening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.